Okay. So our worksheet 8B is just continuing practicing what we just did on Thursday. The first two questions are actually just practicing typing in the calculator, evaluating the log of each of those. So, whichever calculator you're using, right, you can use a phone calculator. I would rather you have something else besides that because we're not going to be able to use that on our test if you are here. So I would suggest you have a regular calculator to practice on that instead. But the first one we're just going to do log of 6 and just type that in. So if you are using a phone calculator, you have to type in the number first and then hit the log button. And you'll see those options. If you turn your phone sideways, the log button should pop up there. But it's a log of 6. Anybody want to type that in the chat of what you're getting? Rounding it to 3 decimal places. 0.778. Looks like we're getting a couple of the same things. Good. So that's just simply typing in the calculator. Second one, log of 1.1 should get us very, very small. Yep, 0.041. Okay. And there's usually a little tiny number before or in between log and then that like 1.1. And the little tiny number is the base, and it's usually a 10 if it's not written in. And so what this is doing, a little tiny base of 10, and this is our solution, is saying 10 to this 0.041 power would get us around 1.1. So that's why it's really, really small for that solution there. It's a little bit bigger for question 1, but still pretty small. 10 to the first power would be 10, but so it's got to be smaller than that. Okay? All right, our next two questions, questions 3 and 4, they both have log in the first place, but we're going to try to solve for this unknown variable of x. So most of our calculators, like especially our phone calculator, can only do log with the base of a 10, or else the base isn't written and we're assuming it's a 10. So these two questions on 3 and 4 have bases of 3 and 5. So some calculators can just type them in, but some of them cannot. So that's why we're gonna rearrange this a little bit, and we could change this to the exponential format. Right. So we start with our little base. We're gonna do 3 to this power equals 7. Okay. If we change it into this exponential form, now it's going to look like some things we've solved on Thursday. Okay? The issue that we had with these questions is we have the variable x, but it's in the exponent spot. And I can't just take the x root of both sides because we don't know what x is. That wouldn't help us. We can't type in the x root of 7 and get a value because we don't know what x is yet. And besides guessing and checking, this is only added logs into our solving. So what we're going to do is take the log of both sides. Okay. We have to add logs into the equation because that's how we can move the exponent out of the exponent. Right? That's called the power property. But we have to have log on that left side with the 3x in order to do it. And we can't just add log to one side, we have to add log in together, both at the same time on the same side, or on the opposite sides. Now we're allowed to move this variable down to the front. Now there's no longer an exponent with that 3. It just says log of 3. Okay? So how will we solve for x now? It says x times log of 3 equals log of 7. How are we going to get that x all by itself? Yeah, we're going to divide by log of 3. All right. Okay, so this is when we're going to need our calculator. Log of 7, if we have a whole regular calculator, we can just type in log of 7, close the parentheses, and then hit log of 3 and divide them with each other. Now, if we don't have another type of calculator and you're just using your phone, you're going to have to type in log of 7, which you actually have to hit 7 first and then the log button, and jot that down, jot that decimal down. Then hit log of 3, or you have to put the 3 first and then the log, and write that decimal down, and then divide the 2. So it is more work if you have just the phone calculator. Maybe it's more convenient for you right now, but if you do have another calculator, I'd probably suggest using that one. Be a little bit less writing and a little bit faster steps for you. Right, if we decide to round this to 3 decimal places, we should get around 1.771. It's really important. I want you guys to be practicing typing this in on your device, whatever that may be, and make sure you are getting this number, because it's one thing if you write it down, but if you can't actually type it in the calculator, then you're missing kind of half of the problem. So actually practice, see if you're getting that. Anybody has something else, please let me know and we can try to troubleshoot what's happening. Okay. But that is our solution there, rounding to 3 decimal places. And number 4 is going to be very similar, right? So it has log in it. We're going to rearrange it so we can actually figure this out with a log base that's not 5, but of 10 instead. Now, some calculators, you can just type this whole part in, and you'll get the same value that our answer is going to be. But I do want to see, not just you typing it in the calculator, I want to see us use this power property and these steps written down. So maybe you can type this in, but that's maybe a way to confirm your answer. We're going to do 5 to the x equals 66. Okay. First thing I see is there's the letter, the unknown, is in the exponent. We need to get that out of the exponent so we can solve for x. We can solve for that unknown amount. And the only way to do that is to use that power property, or one way to do that is to use the power property. And we need to have log on that side in order to do it. We need log on the left side in order to move that variable down. But I can't just put log on one side and not the other. We have to add it in on both. So that's how we're going to do log of both sides. Now we can move that x out of the exponent, move it down here. All right. And very similar to question number 3, what Abdurazak said is we're going to divide by our log value. We're going to divide by a log of 5. Get x equals, and we'll go ahead and type that in. Give you a moment to type that in. And let's round to 3 decimal places. Anybody have an answer they want to type in? Log of 66 divided by log of 5. No one's got an answer. Anybody else confirm that? We'll have a different one. Carla got that too. All right. Good. 2.603. Good. All right. Those are very similar. Questions 5 and 6 are just like that. They're already written in that exponential format, though, so you don't have to do the circling around the world thing. They're already set up, ready to go. They're ready to add logs into the problem. And now, questions 7, 8, and 9 are all kind of similar. They have some extra stuff up in the exponent, but we're still going to solve it the same exact way. Like let's take a look at question 8. If we jump to that one. The ones that we skip, you're going to just have to do. But this is the only assignment. This is the rest that we don't get done is the homework, so you're pretty much going to get it all done. So let's look at question 8. So I have this variable in the exponent. It also says minus 5 in the exponent, but the point is that there's still a variable in the exponent. So we need to get that out of there. So that's why we need to put log in our equation. Right? Now, the thing is, we added log so that we can move the exponent not to be in the exponent anymore. We can move it down to the front. Do I just move the x, or should I move the whole x minus 5? Does it become 3 to the negative 5th power inside the log? Or should I move the entire exponent down? The whole x minus 5 moves, you're right. The whole x minus 5, the whole entire exponent, whatever that is, all of that will move to the front. Okay? Our rule, the power property, says that entire exponent will move down to the front. Okay? So now when we solve this, what we've done in the other questions, if we divided by log of 3, or log of whatever was on that side with the x, if I divide by log of 3, I'm not quite getting to the final answer yet, because we're going to still have x and the minus 5 together. That'll equal whatever that decimal is. Okay. Let's see if we can check on Alex. Maybe you can type in what log of 4.1 divided by log of 3 is, which is not quite the final answer, but we're close. See what we get when we do the division of the logs. And since this isn't the final answer, you don't have to round exactly to 3 decimal places yet. You could take more. Yeah, that's looking good. 1.284. I'm going to divide those. And if we add 5, that's going to be our real answer. What? So 6.284. All right, good. So these just have a little bit of extra steps in them. Questions 7, 8, and 9. And even 9 has like an exponent inside of an exponent. That's still the same thing. We're going to put logs on both sides of our equation, move the whole entire exponent down to the front, do some division, and then we'll continue solving it. Okay, so 7, 8, 9 are all very similar. I'm actually going to have you skip questions 10 and 11. No 10, no 11. And then 12 is very similar to that other one that we were just doing. Okay. If we want to look through another one, we can. If you feel like you get it, you can figure out the rest of them. We just got to finish the rest of this as our assignment for the rest of the day until tomorrow happens. So feel free to, if you want to ask about any other ones. Numbers 10 and 11, I'm having you skip them because there's a variable on both sides. And this is going to be a little bit more than we need to do right now. Yeah, let's take a look at number 9. Okay. So, Colin, we're going to add a log on both sides first because this variable here is in the exponent spot. And if I have log on this side, at least, I'm allowed to move that variable down. But I can't just add log onto one side, I have to add it to both. So that's why we're having log on both sides of the equations. We really only need it to be on the left in order to do the power property, moving that variable down. but we can't just add it to one side. Just like you added things to both sides of the equation over here, we have to put log in on both sides of the equation. So now I'm allowed to move this whole entire x squared, right? The whole exponent will get moved to the front, times log of 42 equals log of 84. And now we're going to solve this. We're going to divide by log of 42. Make sure you're not canceling out the log, like the word log. You're computing the value of log of 84 and computing log of 42 and then dividing them by each other. Okay, so when we do the division, let's see, what do we get? Oh, yep, Carla, 1.185. Awesome. Okay, so that's not quite the final answer yet. The last thing we have to do is solve for x. This is what x squared equals, so we have to square root both sides. And we're actually going to have plus and minus. It's typically what we do when we have square roots. When we're adding the square root in, I get the plus and minus value for it. And then my square root, I get what? 1.089-ish. And positive and negative is okay here if I plug it back in. The variable x was squared, so whether I plug in positive 1.089 or negative 1.089, it's going to end up becoming the positive version of it once it gets squared. So both plus and minus is correct here. Alright. If you feel like we're okay, you're welcome to move on with the rest of your day. If you want to go over the rest of them, so we're just skipping 10 and 11. Shouldn't have put those ones on there. If I was smart, I would have taken them off first, but I didn't. All right. Oh, there we go.